It's time for Side Scrollers with me, Stuttering Craig.
You decide when you lose, not other people.
And Blabs.
I like pickles.
And co-hosted by our friends from around the internet. Today with a one-on-one interview with filmmaker, restaurateur, and boxing enthusiast, Uwe Boll. And now, broadcasting from our homes, it's time for the #1 gaming and entertainment podcast on God's green earth. It's time for Side Scrollers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, welcome on out to Side Scrollers on YouTube.com and Rumble.com and Twitch and Spotify and everywhere else on God's green internet. What's going on, everybody? Hi, I'm Stuttering Craig. Man, do we got a good one today. A one-on-one, my forte with some good friends. I don't know. I don't know if this gentleman realizes what's about to happen. This is going to be really, really great. Starting a little early because he came with us, got in early, just like we asked our guests to do. What a stud. Introducing the legend, Uwe Boll. How are you? Good. I'm so glad you joined us. I am beyond excited to talk to you today, as I don't know if you realize this, but you and I actually have a brief cross of paths in history.
When was that?
2007. 2007. Let me give you a little background here before we get into this. So you and I, long time ago, I sent an email to you in 2007 when the Far Cry movie was announced. And I had started a website at the time with a buddy, and we had asked if we could be in Far Cry. And you said, sure, as long as you get up here, sounds great. Do you recall this at all?
No.
Awesome. I love it.
No, I actually don't.
I love it.
Did you came up? Did you went to Vancouver and?
Yes. So it was actually, it was before crowdfunding was a thing online, and we asked our community, and they gave us like $2,000 for flights and expenses and hotels and stuff. And we went up there. We had a really fun experience. We got to be on set. I actually have video pulled up from 2007, which from long time ago.
Bridge Studios.
Yes, and we went up there, and
now I remember. When I see you there, I remember that you were there, and we made a little interview too, right?
Yes, we did. We did a little interview, and it was so much fun. We went up. We were sold. I was, he obviously Tom was a soldier. I was a scientist. We signed our life away. We were a part of the process for a few hours. Actually, we're on film, and it's the best of my knowledge is that we were actually cut from the film. So thank you for that. That was probably a good decision back in the day.
I don't remember that we cut you off, but it is what it is, right? So you were in that lab in the background, basically working and so on. Yeah.
Right. It was great. It was really good. It was just fun little thing that. I still have people who are like, "Weren't you in that Far Cry movie?" I'm like, "No, I was not." Because, but it was.
But are you in the credits? That you were named in the credits somewhere or on IMDb or anything? No.
I don't know. I don't know. I got to be honest. It doesn't even matter. But with that said, I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way because that was just one of those fun things from way long time ago. So, all right. So we got you for about an hour today. And first off, thanks for your time. We have a lot of people who have a lot of questions about you and about your career, about what you're doing now, about obviously your reputation. So let's actually start there. In the late 2000s, early 2010s, you were like public enemy #1 when it came to the video game space. People looked at you and they were like, some people like wanted to legit kill you, but it seems like over time, your reputation has actually changed a little bit as people look back on your films and they actually have, I don't know whether it's nostalgia for your films or whatever it may be, but I feel like your reputation has changed in that since you've always just never really gave a fuck what people thought, that's actually very endearing to people these days.
Yeah, I mean, what should I do at that point, right? I think I made in a very short term, like 8 years, a lot of video game based films, and so of course I destroyed some big fans' illusion about the favorite game they had or whatever. But I also tried to do the films to tell a story that people understand it or are entertained who never played the game. So and that is of course not so easy, and I think it was a different time, and over time I realized when you put the name in, a lot of people still talk about the films like House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark. The films didn't die off. And when I see, I mean, I'm not getting a lot of residuals or whatever, but I get lists every year where my films were aired, where were shown. And it's hundreds and hundreds of times in various worldwide, in TV channels, on streamers, that films getting repeatedly shown. And that is unusual. There are a lot of films that are 20 years old and nobody ever watches them again, talks about them, or TV is also not showing them anymore. And so they survived a long time, and they didn't, in a way, I feel also a lot of the films aged well. They don't look now like total stupid films with, in a way, no CGI, no action scenes, in a way that we can compete to the shows from today. And what I recognize also, I go to sometimes to like these fan conventions, like more like now in Germany. I was in one like 3 months ago, and the people come and they love Postal, they love Rampage, they and they come with House of the Dead DVDs to sign and stuff like this, and they say they now from the view now that they like it, that we actually did the stuff, we did the action, we did the stunts, the explosions, the bullets, the blood and gore. And that is now all CGI. Everybody is like pissing in their pants to even shoot a blank, and they like that kind of films, So, and I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it that after a while people recognize that, for example, In the Name of the King got trashed. But when you see it now, you think that it's maybe the biggest cast ever in a video game-based film. So, and that is also a thing where people, or Blood Rain is coming out now, right, in 4K in US. You can order it from Massacre Video. They did a whole new 4K version and just released it on Blu-ray and DVD. And we want to do the same with Postal soon. So, yeah, so that I think it's good, so I'm very happy about it.
Well, you hear that's one of the big criticisms of movies today is it's all fake, it's all CGI. There's no, you hear the clamoring online of we want practical effects, and your movies, yes, there are some some explosions that aren't real, but for the most part, you have guys being pulled through windows, and if you watch Postal is, it just seems like nonstop craziness and action. Speaking of Postal, I watched it last night to prep, and and I'll tell you what, man, it is a movie where, written by you are not afraid to poke fun at pretty much anything. And this came out in 2007. This is 6 years after 9/11, and the opening joke, and really the entire thing is built around at a time where people were scared. Like, this is still fairly fresh in our minds. It took some fucking brass balls to make that movie. And going back and looking at it and seeing how that movie opens by itself with terrorists in the plane, like, holy moly. Do you feel like a movie like Postal, number one, I hate the phrase could be made today, because I think everything can be made today. It's just a matter, do you think anybody would even come close to considering making a movie like Postal today?
It's interesting because I emailed with Vince Dizzy yesterday from Running with Scissors, and he was blocking the idea to do Postal 2 for years. And I told him, like, Vince, but why? I mean, what's the point, right? So it's not because he doesn't think he has our kind of humor, right? He's not woke or anything, so he gives a shit. So I told him, like, in the times like today, if you would release Postal now, it would be a bomb, like a not a bomb in the box office. It could be actually a hit in the box office, because nobody would do this. I mean, that is completely off the charts of the cancel culture, like Hollywood mob, basically, right? So they would cancel that film at the first scene. And I feel like I grew up with Naked Gun and stuff like this, Kentucky Fried movie. So I love humor, what is total ruthless, dark, and really gives a shit. And when you overall finish Postal, I think it shows that everybody gets it. It's not like we make only like jokes about blacks, jokes about Chinese, jokes about Bin Laden, Bush, whatever. So everybody gets it in Postal. And that kind of humor got lost. Now everybody flips out in like for nothing. Like when I see like this kind of criticism of like stand-up comedians, they make some jokes and then they're getting like ripped apart. And then you watch it and you think, that is harmless. That is like not even funny, to be honest. So, and I would love to do Postal too, but I'm 100% sure that the actors would not do it anymore. You know, J.K. Simmons was in it. I mean, there were like so many stars in Postal also, Seymour Cassell, like Oscar-winning people. And they loved it. They wanted to do it at that time. Now, if I would ask J.K. Simmons, you want to do a scene in Postal 2, the agent would say, you cannot do it. It will end your career. Nobody will ever hire you again. And that is indeed would be the risk, right? So, but I think we need to break through this absurdity that like films like Hangover couldn't be done anymore. Superbad, like this kind of films would not get made. And I was very sad when Seth Rogen distanced himself from these old films who made him a star. You know, that he said, oh, it aged bad or whatever.
Right.
I don't think so. You know, I can watch that film still and I think it's really funny. So, yeah, so the comedy genre is for sure the genre what got worse and hit hard in this kind of culture change, what we look at for the last 7 or 8 years. You know, it's too bad.
What do you think caused it? Like what happened to Hollywood to where they're like, yeah, we can't offend anybody anymore?
No, I think, I mean, I'm a big believer in you should hire the person for whatever job, not based on race, skin color, whatever. Is that the right person to do the job? Should be the only question. And not like, oh, we need 50% females. And now in Hollywood, you have all this kind of writers where you need, I mean, look at the shows, look at the TV series, right? So you have like basically in episode 2, there will be a lesbian situation. There will be a transsexual playing in the show. Whatever it is, they're writing these parts in all the shows getting made. And I think that is a total disaster. You know, also this kind of, I mean, if you're a female DP, you will be booked forever. You know, also in the technical crew, of course, they're looking at male jobs, normally male DPs, right? So if there's a female, they will get hired. But are this the right camera person, right? Is she good or not? Is the question what I would ask, and not like female or male. And I think we went away to this kind of quota system, and then this kind of, and that is the worst, I think, is that pre-censorship, what everybody is doing now on their own before something happened. You know, they start censoring themselves and don't say Bill Burr is funny. They don't want to say it, even if they think Bill Burr is really funny. I think he's really funny, right? So, and I'm happy that a few people like Bill Burr and other comedians are still having this kind of rough, harder jokes in between. And it's this kind of like it makes you very desperate, because I feel the whole society goes slowly down the drain. So let's say 20 years into all that cancel culture, Vogue, we have to be politically correct. This generation then after us has no clue anymore what freedom of speech means, what freedom of press means, what freedom of expression really means, because they're all pre-censoring their whole behavior from A to Z.
I feel like you are starting your hero arc right now in the movie films and in the movie industry, as everybody in our chat is saying, "Preach, Uwe!" Preach. They're loving what you're saying, because that was the background of this podcast starting, was looking at the video game and entertainment space and being like, "Holy shit, this place is insane. Everybody here is insane." And the reality of it is, we talk about these things on the show, and we have people who come to us silently. They'll DM us or send us an email and be like, "Hey, I love what you're doing on the show. It's outstanding. I wish I could talk about it, but I just can't." And the reality, people are just chicken shit. And people are scared of the cancel mob or whatever it may be. Let's talk about a movie that probably couldn't be made today, which I think is just fascinating. Let's talk about Blubberella.
Oh God. Yeah.
I listen, I'm just going to give you a big congratulations on being way ahead of the fat acceptance trend.
I know. Yeah.
This movie is, for those who don't know, this is a movie that's built around World War II and the Nazis, and the hero or heroine, it's a very tongue-in-cheek, overweight lady who goes in and, I guess, destroys all the Nazis. How did this come about?
I did Blood Rain 2 and 3, and on Blood Rain 3 we had the Second World War. So on Blood Rain we started in the Transylvania, Romania, and then we went 100 years forward in Blood Rain 2 in the Wild West, and then we went to the Nazi times, Second World War. And I felt like, okay, Lindsay Hollister was in Postal. She did that job interview in Postal. I loved that scene. Mm-hmm. And I felt I should make something with her, but nobody will give me the money to pay a whole film. And so I felt I piggyback her basically on Blood Rain 3, bring her there, use all the other actors like Clint Howard, Michael Paré, and so on. And we play a lot of scenes like in Funny again after we shot it with Natasha Malte, the Blood Rain actress. And then we added some scenes, like I play Hitler and stuff like this. So we added some scenes to it. And of course it was chaotic. The film could be way better if it would spend more time with it, and but I think it has moments that are really funny. And the overall setup is right, because we had all that Second World War setup going with the costumes and the tanks and the jeeps and the fighting and the stunts. So I think from this point of view, it's worth it to watch it. But of course, it's total trash, and it's a real trauma kind of a film in a way. And but I loved it. I mean, I'm a big fan of this kind of also low budget humor, like where you just go to Blockbuster in the earlier years and you just watch something and you think like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. And it has definitely charm, So yeah,
I love it. So just to be clear, you were shooting 2 movies at once?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is great.
Yeah. And Lindsay was very mad with me because she was, of course, waiting in her trailer a long time always to get out to do her scene, and I had to put more because I got basically all the money to make Blood Rain 3 and not Blubberella. So I couldn't do 50-50. It was like 80-20. So 80% of the focus and the scenes went to Blood Rain 3 and 20% then to Blubberella. And that was not easy for her, waiting the whole day. So she comes for her 1 or 2 takes we could do with her. But I calmed her down and she was okay.
That's great. That's outstanding. Let's take a step back. And we were talking about, the movies that you can and cannot make, or that Hollywood would not make. Are you familiar with the film Lady Ballers that just was released by the Daily Wire. Are you familiar with this at all?
Oh, I heard about it. Yeah, and I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. I think it could be funny. Could be interesting. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a market for, you obviously said, movies like Postal and such, like it's almost this counterculture push now that's beginning to happen where people are like, yes, we want insanity. We want, the gore and the blood and more than anything, people want honesty.
Yeah, no, totally. And to be honest, I felt in the beginning that Netflix will be the home for rogue, like edgy, hard stuff. And it's still sometimes there, like sometimes they still have the old where they're coming from. They're coming from video. They're coming from the blockbuster area. And I hope that Ted Sarandos, whatever, will stick a little more true to the genre films, to, like having zombie films from time to time and whatever. And you don't need to spend always 200 million with Zack Snyder to do a proper zombie movie, for example, right? So, and but now recently you see the tendency is from all of them, and especially sadly from Netflix, is going to that big budget shows, and all that big stars have to be in it, and so the $5 to $10 million films disappearing more and more, and I think that is sad. I think also that Netflix would have like more fans or even more subscribers if they would spend like every year for 200 million, on $102 million films, and give additional to the billions and billions they're spending. Think about Napoleon was 200 million from Apple, and also the Scorsese film was 200 million. So let's say, okay, let's let them do their big films, but give 100 younger Eli Ross, younger Uwe Bolls, whatever, the chance to make the first $2 million film. And I know so many people, they try to make films, but they have only $20,000. They have only $40,000. And you cannot compete with this. It's just not enough money to make a proper film. But with 2 million, you can do something. And it would be like 100 films from 100 different filmmakers, and gives them a shot and let them do basically whatever they want. But it has to be genre, no drama, because drama is everywhere, non-stop. Everything what they produce mostly are dramas in TV series and in films, like because they want the Oscars or whatever, but it's all drama. And so let's do genre, like pure comedy and horror. So, but it looks like they don't do this. And what I see now, like Disney just released that they sell a lot of stuff to Netflix now. And the feeling is more and more like a lot of the streamers in a way almost giving up, and now will be suppliers for Netflix who will dominate the market. And it's a crazy development we have right now in Hollywood and in the film industry in general. And that the video business is gone was basically the nail in the coffin for a lot of independent film producers.
Talk a little bit about the importance of physical media. I saw an interview you had with Film Threat, and that was actually a comment that was put in. So somebody mentioned the idea of the death of physical media being one of the final nails in the coffin. Can you talk about the importance of why we should all have the movies that we watch and own them in DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever it may be, and why these digital blockbusters like Netflix, why it's not necessarily a good thing.
No, I agree. And it was when I started, there were like everywhere video rental stores, and it was VHS tapes for my first few movies I did in the 90s. And we sold a VHS tape to the rental store for like $120 per tape. So there was a margin, right? Where you say, look, if nobody goes in a movie theater in the film, maybe because it's too small, whatever, but in video, you can make millions. You had like 18,000, 20,000 video stores in Germany. If everybody buys a copy for like $100, you're good, So, and I think with the streaming era, this revenue stream disappeared, but it disappeared making offs, director commentaries, all the extra bonus tracks you have on physical media like DVDs and Blu-rays. They are all gone. So you don't have like I know that people really like my director's commentaries. So now I don't even have to do them anymore if they don't produce a DVD or Blu-ray. And I think that is sad, because you can learn if you have a physical DVD with a making of whatever. It was also that you create a fan audience and they get informations about the making of the film, why you made the film, and so on. That is all gone. So film history will be in a way gone. And if you have another, I had like tons of stuff on a hard drive, and then the hard drive crashed, everything gone. So I'm happy that I still have here for myself DVDs and Blu-rays because they never disappeared. And also the streamers, a lot of things like what about Paramount was here, Apocalypse Now recently, right? And then I felt, I should watch it again. And then like 2 weeks later, gone. They just deleted it off the Paramount Plus website. That happens too. So what you have at home is your collection. Nobody can take it away from you. And it's very sad. I would love to have another DVD Blu-ray renaissance similar to the records, like the music records, who still, I have my record player right there, still playing the old records, and it comes back. We see here in Germany stores, they sell records again because people want it, and I hope maybe on DVD and Blu-ray that will happen also, that it's a market that you can buy stuff there, what you don't have at the streamers.
Right. One of the things that you see now, speaking of digital, is you see movies being edited, right? You're talking about changing history. Would you ever go back and edit any of your old movies and change them for modern audiences?
I would say, the only film where you could do something like this, where you could actually, because we had so much material, where you could cut another different film, is In the Name of the King. And I remember that it was 20th Century Fox, and they told me my film was 170 minutes long. And they said it will be, I have to go 120, 125 minutes, or they will not even putting it out. And that destroyed character development. That destroyed a lot of, that things are not explained properly in the end in the film. And too bad. Years later, all that movies were 3 hours long. Lord of the Rings, all these films are now 3 hours long. Even like stupid Marvel action films or Avengers or whatever is 3 hours long. And I would like if this this longer version could have another shot, for example. That would be the only film, because the other films I think are pretty tight cut, and I would not really change them.
I love it. Let's talk about Disney for a second. You referenced Marvel and Disney. Can you talk about like kind of the current state of the industry, specifically Disney and Marvel? Your thoughts on their struggles over the past few years?
Yeah, I think they overdid it. If you try to create like 5 new franchises every year with like total unknown comic book figures who I never heard about before the film comes out, it just doesn't work. And you cannot ride a wave forever. It's like, also, how many Batmans we need, for example? How many people played Batman already? How many different actors? And there were like highlights like the Dark Knight film, the Joker was great, but now I will watch the Joker too, but I hope they stayed true to what they did with the first one, because that was not a comic book movie. That was like a very big tragedy masterpiece. So, that I would like exclude from most of the comic book films. But if now Ben Affleck comes, whatever, I cannot watch it anymore. It's too much. Spider-Man, I'm still kind of a fan because they move more into a comedy direction, so it's more entertaining. But I'm very skeptical how this turns out. And now Disney has panicked because they spend so much money on that films that if a film doesn't make like worldwide $800-900 million box office, they will lose money on that film. So And it's also a mistake, I think. They produce too expensive. They pay too high salaries to everybody. And it's crazy. You know, it's the same, like the strikes were 7 months going. And now the strikes are over. On paper, everybody gets more. But what will really happen is they produce less. You know, like all that 120,000 actors who live from here and there, you have a shooting day, they're getting now $200 more a day. Great. But overall, there will be 100,000 shooting days less in America next year because 50% of the production will not happen. It's too expensive now for the studios and streamers to continue to do so many productions. And so who will suffer? The small people, the crews, the smaller actors, the script writers who maybe sell one script every few years, you know. And I felt the whole time I had this double feeling in regards of the strike, because there were people whiny, like the writers' rooms, for example. You know, then you read, like, if you are on a top TV series in the writers' room, you make 12 grand a week. So it means, like, you know, you are like basically in a way an unknown writer, but you make $50,000 a month. So why you're whiny at all? Why you run around on the street and you yell like you are a homeless person and working in an Amazon plant in Detroit, right? So, and I felt like they are very, let's say, whiny on a higher level, and they have no clue how hard it is to sell any script. And a lot of people really struggle. A lot of actors are basically waiters, and they try to be actors. So, but I think all of them, they shoot themselves in the foot with that new rules, you know. And also, as an independent filmmaker, I always said to actors and whatever I produced with, look, I'm a member of the Directors Guild, for example, you know, but I can make films without the guild. As a producer director, I can say, look, I'm not doing a union film now because I don't have the money. I'm shooting it smaller, and I feel that should be allowed. It should be allowed for any actor also to make to play for $200, and not saying, if I don't get the SAG minimum, I cannot play in the film. I think that is counterproductive. It's like basically the whole system is doing everything to destroy independent filmmaking. You know, that the actor says, sorry, if it's not SAG, I cannot play in the film, you know, and the IATSE and so on. And at the same time, Disney and co, they're spending way too much money for talent, and they're spending way too much money for their franchises. Indiana Jones, you know, like when you see like Harrison Ford clearly like CGI'd, and
right.
There are times when it's over. I mean, Indiana Jones is over, you know, and I like, for example, more the attempts they did with TV series. I like The Mandalorian, for example. I think it's better as Star Wars to watch because it doesn't have that ballast, you know. It's just a new show, and I really liked it. And but a lot of these franchises, it's just this endless driving it, and milking the audience, and the audience feels it.
Right.
You know, I think they're feeling it, and that is the reason these movies are not performing so good anymore.
Let's take a little step back here, and let's go back to video games for a second, because you know, we're talking about the audience feeling it. I think a lot of people, you know, your reputation was, oh, he's the guy who makes bad video game movies, right? So let's talk about video games and you. Like, did you play games growing up? Do you play video games? Are you into video games at all?
I'm too old, right? So I played I played Asteroid, you know, like the
Asteroid.
Asteroid. So, and I had really a Commodore C64 and then an Atari computer, but it was so simple. You know, we played like tennis and stuff like this. So the very early stuff. I was more addicted to pinball, like the playing in the arcades, and that is also the reason I know House of the Dead and stuff. I just played it in the arcades. So my kids are big video gamers, and they're 50,000 times better as me in everything, Fortnite and so on. And so now I just play like FIFA, like the sports things with my kids, right?
Right.
So, but I was never, let's say, a total hardcore gamer. It was just not the case.
Well, this is pointed out in the chat. Androsky says you should stream Chrono Trigger. I think there's a market for you to become a streamer playing video games, specifically video games that you made movies about. I think there's a tremendous audience that would love to see you play those games.
Live streams. Yeah.
Right. So what drew you to video game movies? Was it a cheap licensing cost? Like, walk me through the process of being like, okay, this would be a good story to make a movie about.
So it was basically during I did Heart of America, this film about like Littleton school shooting, and I had like Elizabeth Moss in it, who turned into a big star later. And I think it's a very good film, and but it didn't make anything. So it didn't make money. Nobody paid any attention to it. And during that time, Mark Altman came to me from Mindfire Entertainment and said, "Look, I have the rights to House of the Dead from Sega. We wrote a script. Sega approved it, but we cannot get the film together. Like, I cannot raise the money." So I went to investors in Germany and said, "Look, we should try that video game based film to see if we can make it a success. If you make money on it, we see how it all develops." And that is why I got the money. It was around $7 million to do the film. And it was really, when it was done, at that point, Artisan and Lionsgate and Blockbuster, they all wanted to buy it. And we made the deal with Artisan, and then they got sold to Lionsgate. So it ended up at Lionsgate. And and it made money. It made way over 20 million in videos alone, and 11 million box office. And that is why we continued. So I had that investors, and they said, "Look, we're not paying you another drama or whatever. Try to get more video games, then we give you the money." And so they got good returns on House of the Dead, and that is how it all came to this. I was basically on a roll doing this kind of films. And at that time, if you hear a snoring in the back, it's my dog.
I love it.
Yeah, it's like she's like snoring in the back. I hear her. Yeah,
No worries at all. No worries at all.
Okay,
I love it. What's your dog's name?
Bessie.
Bessie. I love it.
Yeah, there's a little black Spitz also running around here. He's annoying. Good that he.
I love it.
So that is how it all came together. And at that time period, it was not so hard to get the license for a fair price. Where I was lucky because Crytek, the Far Cry makers, they were in Frankfurt. I'm here by Frankfurt, living by Frankfurt. So I met them before they released Far Cry. And, and I said, "Look, I want to make that film. I want to buy the video rights, the film rights." And they sold it to me for like very low money. And that was the reason Ubisoft hated me later. Because I had the rights, and Ubisoft didn't promote the film, didn't want to have anything to do with it, because they missed out on millions they could make, of course, a few years later when it was a #1 game in the market for it. And similar, Blood Rain, Alone in the Dark was also like, Atari was in a very bad position at that point in general, with Infogrames who bought Atari and all that stuff. So I got Alone in the Dark also cheap enough to say, "Look, let's do a film about it." So it was kind of a crazy situation, and I ran with it because as a filmmaker, you need to go there where the money is, right? So you cannot like afford to say, "No, I don't want the $20 million to make that film, and instead I do no film." So that was the whole situation at that time period.
So it wasn't so much that you were passionate about the films or the source materials, more about it was more of a business decision, to be totally honest. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, and I think what the people couldn't handle is that I said that at that time too. It was that they hated me, that I didn't say I play video games 24/7 and whatever, that I just said it how it is. I said the same 15 years ago as I say right now. So, and some people hated me for it, but I'm just in a way straight, right? I say how it really is, and I always did that. And don't change my opinion only because the wind blows in my face. So, you know, and I'm in a way also happy that I did it, because it made it possible to work with all that stars. And as a filmmaker, I think also, like, a lot of people don't get it, what filmmaking is. You know, for me, it was never like I have that one idea and I worked 7 years on that film to bring it to the screen with all my emotions and my whatever, right? So I see film is expensive, it's a business, and I love shooting films. So I don't want to wait 7 years to shoot a film and then think about another 7 years what I do next. So I like every year to make a film, or even 2 sometimes. So it's fun to do this, and it's fun to be on set. And it has nothing to do really with what you shoot, as long it's like good. You know, it can be a poor genre film where it's just entertaining and zero political, or it's a Saul on Wall Street or Postal, where a lot of political things are in. Yeah.
You also notoriously reached out to Warcraft about trying to get that license. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I would like to read a quote really quick, and then I'll let you go into it. This is from you via the MTV blog in 2008. It says, he said, I got in contact with Paul Sams of Blizzard, and he said, "We will not sell the movie rights, not to you, especially not to you." What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing, but in a way, look at the film later. You know what they finally did with hundreds of millions of dollars. I think it was also not a good film, what finally came out of it. And I mean, that is also a thing, you know, like, what is in the end better? Like, you spend 200 million and you do the Prince of Persia with Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, or you do a straightforward, very bloody, sexy Blood Rain film with Kristanna Loken. So what is in the end the more entertaining film? And I grew up a lot at this point was in German TV was a lot of like US Western. So I grew up with John Wayne and this kind of films. And John Ford is a big hero of mine, for example, because, and in a way I do the films, I cannot compare myself with John Ford, but in that spirit of like, just tell the story, you know, just move it forward and tell the story. And I think especially in today's time, a lot of the films that way too long, and they're not really telling the story. They're telling everything but the story. They're telling like all this character development, whatever. But then in the end, you are done with the film and you think, actually, so what was now the story from the whole thing? And I like to have in a way, when you make a film, I always go for a clearer structure to say, look, we have 100 minutes and not like 200 minutes. And then in that 100 minutes, you have to move it forward and tell the story you want to tell, and the characters serve the story, not like we have characters and no story. And I feel a lot of times now when I watch shows, I feel like that story you could tell in 20 minutes what was in that film.
All right, well, let's talk about some of your critics. Obviously, you notoriously boxed many of your critics several years ago. I wanted to, one of the questions we have is from Winston. He says, "Can Uwe talk about his boxing match with Richard Lotax, and what he thought of him before and after his boxing match with him? Also, what is his perspective of Lotax since? Oh, well, I guess he passed on. I guess he committed suicide earlier this year. And what about the Something Awful forum? So let's start there. Let's talk about your boxing matches. This is pretty notorious in your career, and the background of it. I mean, who hasn't wanted to punch their critics in the face?
Yeah, a lot of directors reached out to me after and said, "Oh, I wish I could did that," and stuff like this, you know. And yeah, there is he. And so we did in Vancouver this event with Jeff Snyder, who's now, I think he's with Hollywood Reporter, and then Lotax, and he had Chance Minter also, and Chris Alexander, who is I think he's still at Fangoria, right? So he's the chief editor of the Fangoria magazine. And there's Chris Alexander. I had kind of a revenge, like this kind of.
You're pissed.
Yeah, I was pissed. And I
Yeah.
told them from the beginning on, that is where with Lotex, where I was so mad that they all said, not all, but he specifically said, I promised not to hit him. And it's all a show and whatever. And that was the opposite to what I said from day one on when I said apply to come to Vancouver and we do a boxing match. The opposite. I said it has to be real. I'm not a big fan of like wrestling here. So we boxing and we will fight for real. So we have a few months to train. And then you come and do it. And then he later tried to backstab me this way. Was just bullshit. And I reached out to him when he was sick and everything. So we are on good terms. In the very end, we were on good terms together. And I'm on good terms with all of them. So I think they also, in a way, learned a little coming there, that there's a real world out there. And it's different to just write or bash somebody. And you have to see, like, even a bad film is a lot of work. A lot of them, nobody makes a film to make a bad film, but some films turn out not good. But still the work is there, and you should honor the work, that you put all your effort in and time and nerves and everything. So, and I felt like a lot of people, not only them, but a lot of people, they trashed my films in a way it was, of course, insulting and absurd. When they said to Ed Wood, I'm like, Ed Wood, right? And I said, look, Ed Wood made films for $1,000 budget. And I still admire him also because of the Tim Burton film, Johnny Depp played him, whatever. But I'm not Ed Wood. Ed Wood had no money to make films. So my films are technical, good. They were done by top-notch, like the stunt people were top-notch, the CGI people were top-notch. I mean, the crews in Vancouver, our stunt guy from Far Cry, he did iRobot and stuff like this. I mean, if you say that is trash like Ed Wood, you at the same time insult everybody who worked on the film. Neil Blomkamp, who's a big star now, worked on my films in CGI in the beginning of his career. We have Julian Clark, the Postal editor, won an Oscar. He's cutting Deadpool, right? So, I mean, that is the thing. It's like when you say this, you maybe want to insult only me, but you don't see all the other people who worked on this kind of films. And they were laughing about it the whole time. My crew was never taking it serious and said, this is total stupid. As I don't have eyes, like, can I not see that the films are very well done? So, but it is what it is. And I'm not mad with the reviewers anymore, or with the critics, and whatever they say, it's okay.
Over on Twitter, Coinbox was asking if you have any regrets from the boxing matches at all. Do you look back on that and be like, I probably shouldn't have done that?
No. It was, I think it was fun, and it was also entertaining for everybody in the arena. There were like over 1,000 visitors, people in the audience. I think it was good that I did it, also to make a point. To say like, look, but I told everybody, I'm proud of you guys. You stepped up into the ring. You didn't run away. You got beaten up, but you stepped up to the plate. And so I think that from this point of view, that is all good. But after this, of course, I got so many invites to festivals where I should box. And I did one in Spain, another fight I did in Austin at the Alamo Fest. I boxed Tim Leake, the boss from the festival, and but there I hold back. That was different because that was kind of a show thing, and I liked him. I didn't want to like hit him too hard, and so
that's awesome. I love it. And it's obvious that you are just a natural fighter in real life, whether it's in film or whether it's whatever your profession you want to do. One of the criticisms that you see online when it comes to the boxing event is that there was another critic named SeanBaby that apparently he was ready to fight and you didn't want to fight him. Can you talk about that at all?
No, I think first of all, he came very late with I want to fight, and we already booked the flights and everybody, so it was set up. The second was he never wrote any negative thing about me. So I said the people are only qualified who actually bashed me. So I wanted to feel the revenge, right? So I mean, of course, in retrospective, the guy was fit. I was like this kind of okay. Let's say if I would fought him, it would be a better event, right? But it was not the purpose of the event. And everybody we invited, I had no information about are they trained, are they fighters, are they heavier or taller as me. I had zero intel, and confirmed I boxed 4 people in one night. So it was this kind of like, okay, I don't know, but there is a video on YouTube too, where I box a way better guy at the before the fights. The day before, we went to a gym and we're fighting. There was a guy, also a reviewer, who was really fit, and he wanted to fight me there. And all the others who I was fighting a day later were there. And somebody filmed it, and it's on YouTube, and it's there. You see he's very aggressive, whatever. But then he gets it, right? So I mean, I boxed 14 years in a real club, so I'm also not afraid of SeanBaby, right? So I mean, from my club in Leverkusen, we were 3 times German amateur champions, and like Felix Sturm boxed with us. He was fighting later Oscar de la Hoya against the world title, like, so I grew up doing sparrings with top-notch people. So and of course at that point I was already older, but I'm pretty sure I can handle SeanBaby because he was doing like more Thai boxing, what he couldn't do in the boxing ring, right? So and it was a kickboxer, so it was not that I was scared of him. So that was the thing, but I never really started to engage in this too much in regards of I don't know what he wanted to say. Boll is a pussy, he doesn't want to box me, but I also didn't want it to have now every 3 months a boxing event.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so hypothetically, look, we're all a little older, right? And that's fine. But could we hypothetically set up an Uwe Boll versus SeanBaby grudge match today?
No, I'm too old. I don't know how old he is, but I don't know how old he is actually. So no, I'm not boxing at long time anymore, basically. So I'm staying fit as I can, but I'm not in training, and I'm not going back in training. But I mean, if it's a pay-per-view event and I make real money, we talk about it. But
see, now we're talking. Listen, the door is open. The door is open. Let's go. All right, let's see if we can make this happen.
Yeah.
All right. So you box your critics, but it doesn't stop, right? There's a point where there's actually there's a petition online that like we want Uwe Boll to retire, blah blah blah. That kind of flounders. It's it's always the vocal minority, right? But eventually you get around to a point to where you are you make like a more or less a retirement video after some crowdfunding campaigns kind of fall through, and that was kind of a notorious end to your filmmaking career at that time. Talk about that, because you want to talk about like feeling it. You were pissed. You were very pissed during that video.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like it. I'm trying during we talk here to find that video, and I found it here. Wait 1 second.
Sure.
I will put it in the that other boxing thing.
Sure,
and
sure.
There you see when it looks a little more real.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm putting it here in the chat,
Okay.
and so for
Excellent.
everybody to watch, so that you can see, I can take the pressure. So. And so that when you so this guy was the guy, so he wanted to do it, and then he came. You see here is the Chris Alexander in the left,
Okay.
and so he got more aggressive here, but it's a totally different setup. You see, he's sportive, So and then he was like. You would see when he stops, he falls on the ground at one point. So
nice.
And see, now I'm going a little more to the body.
So you go into town, you're in Vancouver, and this guy's like, hey, let's go the day before. And you're like, all right.
No, because at this point you have to see, like, I took the fight serious. So I was there in training a longer time, and did a lot of sparring, getting really good boxers there in Vancouver. So I was not scared if a guy like want to do something, you know. So there I dropped him quickly.
Yeah.
So, and then
nice.
So and that is the thing. So but no matter what. What was your question from before?
I don't know. We're talking about the retirement video. But whatever.
So that was because that was 2016 after Rampage 3.
Yes.
And I felt, you know what? It's kind of over now, where the video stores closing, Blockbuster closing, and everything. And I felt like the business goes away, and that was pissing me off. And I felt like it doesn't make any sense to make films anymore. At that point, I opened also that restaurant in Vancouver, Bauhaus, and so on. And I felt, so maybe I have to go a different route now. Maybe I stopped doing films and being now a restaurateur. But that turned out to be, for me, not the way I really wanted to end my life. So I felt like after a few years, I really want to come back. And I did this kind of film Hanau in Germany, about a terror attack in Germany where a guy killed 9 people in one night, and then he shot his mother and himself. So, and then I did First Shift this year in March in New York, like a cop film. And can also put in the chat the trailer. And I think it turned out very good. I'm happy to had like Kristen Renton. She was like the lead in Sons of Anarchy, for example, the female lead, the girlfriend from Charlie Hunman there. Mm-hmm. And like Daniel Soli, Gary Pastore was in all the mafia films from Scorsese. So it's a good New York cop film, and it's sold in US to Quiver and will come out in a few movie theaters and then are like on stream. And I told them, please do DVDs, do Blu-rays also, and they promised to do it, and not to just put it on a streamer. So, and I hope that will happen. And we shot CinemaScope, so it's a real New York kind of They have to do that shift together, and he doesn't like her in the beginning, and she's all like excited about it. And of course, during the day, they turn friends. They save a dog. He has to like interfere here. Knife stabbings. There are mafia killings. So it's this kind of in a way, Bad Boys, mm-hmm. or like where you have a typical Lethal Weapon, this kind of typical cop film, but a little harder in a way. So it gets very dramatic at one point, but I'm very happy about the film. It turned out very good. It plays very well. And so I want to continue. In April, I want to shoot a film with the title Run, what is also, people would say politically incorrect, but I want to do, like in Europe, we have a lot of like boats coming in every day, Italy, France, whatever, with refugees, right? So migrants, they're coming from all over the place. And I want to do a film where a situation like this gets completely out of control and they all start killing each other. Basically, the migrants and the locals, and this kind of tension grows. We have that in Europe already, right? We have a lot of tension against illegal migration from Africa, and you see a lot of European countries want to stop it completely, but it's a big business. It's a big business in Africa. There are all that smugglers who smuggle them over the ocean because they promise them they're getting wealthy and they're getting rich if they go to West Europe. So there I want to film about this, also with American actors and so on. So I'm on this, casting it right now, and
Well, so, I'll say this: if there's ever an opportunity for an extra to be in your film, I'd love to appear in the background, maybe as a scientist. We'll see.
Okay, no problem.
Look, we only got you for a couple more minutes, and I want to be very courteous to your time. But I do also want to be courteous to the audience as well. As they have
we
some,
can do another 15 minutes, no problem.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Obviously, we'd love to have you back because I feel like we're just kind of getting started here, which is awesome. There's so much going on. Let me get to this really quick. Patrick says, Uwe, thank you for the Far Cry movie. It wasn't perfect, but Far Cry was one of my favorite games as a kid, and the movie was fun. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Pyrocrab says, hey, Uwe, if you see this, in the infamous retirement video, you mentioned Marvel's Avengers bullshit and a retarded wizard in the forest. I've always wondered what was the wizard in the forest?
No, I have to say, so, I do with Gary Otto a podcast also, Uwe Boll Raw, right? So it's forever. So it's also, I think, on Spotify or whatever. But it's no video. It's just a sound. And Gary had that idea and he started talking on Uwe Boll Raw, and he's doing also the Uwe Boll Raw Twitter. We do like the crazy visit in the forest, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it went off, and people talked about it, and we're all excited doing that film. And I was like, oh God, so what we want to tell them? But it was Gary's idea. I never really had an idea to make a film like this. And but of course, in that video where I flipped out and say basically, fuck you, Hollywood, so it was this kind of like honest outburst about what I was overall feeling, right? So, and I like the times where you had more entrepreneurs running Hollywood and making bold decisions and saying, look, let's do it, let's do this. And now you have the feeling Hollywood is ruled by algorithm. And when you filed something to Amazon, so various projects I sent to Amazon, and then what happens is if they don't like it at all, you get an email, not interested. So, but if they kind of like it, but they don't know, then you get a link where you have to put things in. So it goes through the algorithm. Right? So now your 10 pages treatment, you have to reduce it down to like 2 log lines. And you have to fill out other forms like, do you have A-list cast? You put the cast in, whatever. And then it runs through it. And then you get like an answer like 2 weeks later, like, we don't want it. Or, or if you're lucky, we want it. But they never want anything from me so far. But it's this kind of like, you feel like that is how it is now. This kind of, but this is also the reason that a lot of things are exactly the same, where you watch something and you feel like, how is that even possible that I'm watching this? And you feel after 2 episodes or whatever, like, why this thing got done? Like, why they made that production? And because it went at one point, because the computer don't lie. So let's say the computer tells the Amazon guys, that is good. That gets 98 points from 100. If they don't do that film or that TV series, they could get fired.
Wow.
It could, because it could come back to them. That at one point, let's say then Netflix is doing that thing. It's a big hit. And now you worked at Amazon at that point where you passed on it, even if it got the high rating from the algorithm. Then you're toast. You will lose your job because then the higher ups tell you, like, look, it had 98 points. How could you not do this?
Right. And it's all done through AI and algorithms and stuff.
Yes. Huh? Yeah. God, it's crazy.
That's infuriating to hear. Like the idea that we're totally removed from human thought. It's like, oh, it's crazy. All right. Got a couple questions from Twitter. Actually, we've had probably close to 70 questions from Twitter. I've narrowed it down to just a few. A lot of people have a lot of questions, mostly about like video game movies you'd like to produce, things like that. But we've established that they were built around, they're more the business decisions first and foremost. And so let's go here from Galaxy Red. He wanted to know, this is probably a no-brainer question, but what was it like to direct Jason Statham?
He's great. I had a very good relationship with him. He is at that point also, he just did Transporter, and I think it was before Crank or after Crank, but super sportive. He twisted his ankle and then he got taped and kept doing the stuff he did, like the flips. He did everything on his own, all the fighting. Only the horse riding, we had to bring a stunt guy. And dry humor, I have to say, with him and Claire Fulani, Ron Perlman, we had so much fun on set. There was a super good atmosphere, and I mean, it was the biggest movie I ever did, and it was a blast. First time, like this kind of long shooting, 2 months shooting and stuff like this. And Burt Reynolds, I mean, legends in it, Ray Liotta. So, like, to shoot a film, when people ask me, like, what was the best shoot you ever had? And I have to say, Postal and King was the best for me because of this kind of, because King was so big and you could do whatever you wanted in a way, had so much fun with the actors. And Postal, because it was so crazy, ruthless, funny, that we were just laughing our asses off the whole day.
That's awesome. That's great. And it shows in the movie because it's fucking ridiculous. And it's that's and like, honestly, it's such a breath of fresh air when you watch it today. If you have any sort of dark humor, it almost, in the same way, it's almost like Idiocracy, right? When Idiocracy came out forever ago, it was like, oh, it's this bullshit movie, whatever. But now you look at it and you're like, oh my God, like, holy cow, it's like reality now. All right.
Yeah.
We got a few more from Twitter, and this is something that I had a lot of people ask, and it was about the process of making your movie, specifically when it comes to, and I don't know a whole lot, so I'll just ask this question: can you respond to the allegations that your movies are used for tax write-offs? And then there's this further one that says, ask about the German loophole he exploited by purposely making bad movies that flopped, and the government covered the losses, resulting in him pocketing the money. So talk about that for a little bit.
No, it was actually like the situation was, so if you invested in a film in Germany at the time, 2005, from 2005 when it was not allowed anymore, but before, a lot of German money financed Lord of the Rings, Mission Impossible, was German money what the studios used in America. So, and for example, let's say you're a dentist, you make $300,000 a year. So in Germany, you would pay almost $150,000 in taxes. If you would put the 300 in a film, you would pay 0 taxes, right?
Oh, wow.
But your money would be gone, of course, right? It would be in the film. So nobody invested in this kind of film investments without the hope that there will be money coming back. But of course, not in that tax year. First, so you got the people investing because now they want a tax write-off. But a year later, 2 years later, they said, where are the revenues? Where are the revenues? So the idea, on purpose I made bad films, or on purpose I made films they didn't recoup money or something, that is total absurd. Everybody who invested wanted the money back, and the reality was also, I returned more money as Lord of the Rings to the investors, as absurd it sounds, but it had to do also with Hollywood accounting. These funds who financed Lord of the Rings or Mission Impossible, they got all the money in, and then it started. Oh, we spent $500 million to release the movies, blah, blah, blah. And the German investors almost got nothing back. In my case, most of the investors got like gross money back, like directly, if Lionsgate paid $5 million, they got the $5 million back, and I got 10% of it as producer director. So that was the deal, and a lot of the investors were very happy with me. But it's too bad that exactly what they just asked is really out there, and it was even on Wikipedia and everything. And you cannot, I can only try to correct it in, for example, an interview like this. I can say how it really was. Because think about how absurd the idea is that you need to tank the money. That would be maybe with the mafia, if they want the, if the mafia wants money laundry, but they also just want the money back in the very end. So whoever you would do, government, tax investors, they always want money back. Nobody wants to lose the money.
No one's just handing it out, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get to your next venture in life here in just a second. But Crit came in. Crit Nature says, I don't even know what does that say in German? And can you translate that?
Grüezi. Yeah, Grüezi is like hi from Switzerland.
Okay, I really enjoyed Assault on Wall Street. I felt for the main character who lost anything because of other people's greed. So when can we expect your next movie on criticism of society? Well, you kind of mentioned that with Run, correct?
Yeah, I think First Shift is a clear-cut genre cop film, and it's not really criticizing politics or whatever. I mean, Run is this kind of film what now everybody discusses also in the US about illegal migration and how much can a country absorb in a way, you know. And as soon you say we have to limit it, you're a fascist.
Right.
You know, so that is right now the political landscape in Europe, and in US a lot similar, right? And I think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just a logical thing that if you bring people in and you don't have work for them, you don't have spots in school for them, for kids and whatsoever. And in Europe, the problem is similar because they don't speak German when they come or whatsoever, but they're all sitting in the classrooms and nobody can talk to them. Like stuff like this. If the handling of migration is out of control, and it's in Europe right now the case, everybody suffers. Everything gets to shit, right? So and that has nothing to do being. I'm not against migration. We have the whole world is you know, I lived in Canada, my wife is from Canada, whatever. That is, it has nothing to do with it, but it has to be an intelligent migration in a way, like you need the people you need, and other people, yeah, if you run away because you get the head chopped off in the country you come from, that is a different thing. Then you need acute help or you're dead. That, you know, that's a political asylum seeker, basically. But most of the people coming from Latin America into the US or from Africa into Europe is just, they want money. They want a better life. So, and that is okay if you have like 200,000 people a year. But if you have 2 million people a year, things getting completely out of hand. You know?
Well, I live in Dallas, Texas, and so I see this every day. And people don't understand. They don't understand if you're not there. You know, people up in the north, they say, "Oh, what's the big deal?" And it's like, well, I see it every single day. The overrun roads, the overrun, everything is overrun, which is crazy. But all right. So let's talk about your restaurant for a second, because I do think this is actually a really interesting pivot, and then we'll wrap up. But, so is it Bauhaus? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So talk about this. Why were you like, I want to make a restaurant? And obviously good German food, upscale German food, but like restaurants are notoriously hard to make money in.
I know, I'm so an idiot. So look at how great it looked like, right? So I mean, it's closed now, right? So after in COVID, we went to Germany and never opened it again.
Oh,
it's
bummer.
Too bad, because we had a lot of fans, and it was like, to be honest, living in Canada at that point from 2013 to 2020, I lived there, and I missed German food. And more like also like this Wiener Schnitzel, this kind of like roasts, you know, with dumplings and goose and stuff like this. So classical German cuisine, and beef roulade and so on. And I mean, it's interesting, Dallas, because in Texas are a lot of Germans, right? So
yes.
And they I'm sure Bauhaus would work in Dallas very well too. So but you're totally right. It's then what I saw is I set it all up, and then I can just enjoy a few good dinners per week myself, and everything will run smoothly. And then my wife and I went to a 4.5 years, basically. Yeah, I don't want to say horror trip, because there was a lot of positive things happening too, but you have so much fluctuation. You know, when you think like that kitchen now, top notch, then 2 chefs leaving, you know, and then you have waiters, they steal, they get drunk, they're under drugs, all this stuff. You have non-stop drama. And I love that show. It's on Disney, I think, The Bear. Is it on Apple or Disney?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
With Jeremy, whatever. It's a great show about like how he tries to run the restaurant, and everything is like completely out of control. And it's kind of, we both watched it, my wife and I, and we were like, that is basically what happened at Bauhaus, you know? So, and you always have drama. You always have things going sideways. And it was and of course, as a restaurant, you are 6 days open. So you never have a real weekend or something, you know. We were closed Mondays, so you have the weekend full on, and it's the busiest nights, Fridays and Saturday nights. So you're the whole time in the restaurant to save the night, to control what's going on, and that they don't like drop the ball, and then the next day you have on TripAdvisor the worst service ever and whatsoever. So that was the thing. I mean, I have to admire people when I see like the Gordon Ramsays of this world. How can you run 20 restaurants in 20 different cities? It's a total miracle for me. You need really managers you're totally like trustworthy people. They are partners with you and they travel around the whole time. I mean, that is really amazing. And I think the best restaurants are family owned. You know, where the chef is the owner, then things move smoothly. And but in our case, it was a great adventure. And a lot of like the Predator, when they shot Predator, they were all in the restaurant. We had like Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, a lot of stars when they were shooting in Vancouver came and ate. And so you meet a lot of interesting people. And so it was worth it in a way, because you meet a lot of people, a lot of, in a way, celebrities and whatsoever. But it's like it would be impossible to run that restaurant and move to Germany, for example. Impossible. We could never went here back to Europe or whatever if we would kept the restaurant open.
Well, everyone has their unique twists and turns of their lives and adventure. And I'll tell you what, this has been fun catching up with you. And it's been a really great conversation. Honestly, like I said, I feel like there's so much more we could talk about, but appreciate your time today. And I know everybody tuning in appreciates your time as well. So thank you very much for hanging out with us for a little bit today. And is there anything you want to close with? Any closing thoughts to your critics who may still be critics today, or just your potentially new fans?
No, I think watch First Shift when it comes out. I'm coming happily back when it's getting out, when it gets released, and maybe April, May or something. We can do another show together.
Yes.
And in between, just listen to Uwe Boll Raw with me and Gary. So we do like once a week, around 45 minutes, talking also about politics, not only about films. And he lives in Florida, so it's interesting to go over the ocean and to see different perspectives of what's going on the planet. You know, one thing in that I read today was great. I was laughing myself, and I tweeted it also, is that the U.S. Army is running slot machines and makes in the wherever the soldiers are, they run the slot machines and they make $100 million profit in the U.S. Army on the slot machines on the soldiers. I think that was the best news I ever read. It's like unbelievable. So the U.S. Army is in the gambling business.
That's ridiculous and insane. And so 2023, 2024. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. Appreciate everybody popping in. Uwe, thank you very much for your time. Guys, remember, people are going to try to keep you down. Don't let them. You guys got a goal. Go get it. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.